Your future is being decided right now, not by big decisions, but by the tiny choices you make every single day. The coffee you drink, the time you wake up, the way you check your phone, they're all shaping your destiny. In Atomic Habits, James Clear reveals the invisible power of these small actions, and how they can either build your dream life, or destroy it without you even noticing. Welcome to Ease of Education, where knowledge meets clarity and growth begins. We believe true freedom, whether on field of finance, self-improvement, or entrepreneurship, it starts with the right education. That's why our mission is simple: to bring you deep, meaningful book summaries on self-improvement, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy that don't just inform, they transform. Our videos may be slightly longer, but that's because we value depth over shortcuts. We focus on giving you the full picture, not just surface-level ideas. No fancy graphics, no unnecessary distractions, just pure, practical wisdom that speaks directly to your goals. Every video is crafted with care to help you build confidence, sharpen your thinking, and take smarter steps toward financial success. Here, it's not just about learning, it's about growing together. Subscribe and let's turn your curiosity into confidence, one book at a time. If you clicked on this video, it means you've already heard about Atomic Habits. Everyone says, small steps can lead to massive results. But here's the truth: will it really work for you? Probably not. Because those tiny steps are not as easy as they look. They demand conviction. They demand determination. And let's be honest, you might be lacking that right now. And here's the bigger problem. Every new habit you try to build feels like a stranger to your brain. And to accept something new, your brain craves dopamine, a rush of pleasure that comes only after results. But since you haven't seen results yet, there's no reward, no motivation, and no reason for your brain to continue. So, what's the real secret? How do you actually build habits that last? Let's discuss. Let's pause for a moment and forget everything. Just go back to your childhood. Do you remember what you did when you were ill? You took leave from school, rested in bed, took medicines, avoided playing, avoided physical activities. But at that same time, do you remember your mother? Even with fever, she still cooked food for you. Do you remember your father? Despite health problems, he still went to work. That's the difference. They were not just living for themselves, they were living for you. They devoted their lives to their children. And yet, we often get stuck when we only think about ourselves. My mood isn't right, I feel low, I'll wait for things to get better on their own. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. Sometimes we wait too long. But there are moments when we have to rise above our mood, above our pain, and hold on to something bigger than ourselves. Because when we live for something greater, our family, our dreams, our purpose, we find the strength to keep going, no matter what. Let's break down the process of making new constructive habits in 5 powerful principles. First principle is satisfaction. Honestly, if you want to change your behavior, make it satisfying. Take the story of chewing gum. Chewing gum had been sold commercially throughout the 1800s, but it wasn't until Wrigley launched in 1891 that it became a worldwide habit. Early versions were made from relatively bland resins, chewy, but not tasty. Wrigley revolutionized the industry by adding flavors like spearmint and juicy fruit, which made the product flavorful and fun to use. Then they went a step further and began pushing chewing gum as a pathway to a clean mouth. Advertisements told readers to refresh your taste. Tasty flavors and the feeling of a fresh mouth provided little bits of immediate reinforcement and made the product satisfying to use. Consumption skyrocketed, and Wrigley became the largest chewing gum company in the world. A lot of people struggle to build the habit of going to the gym. At first, it feels like pain and effort. But once someone starts noticing the satisfaction after workouts, like feeling more energetic, lighter mood due to endorphins, better sleep, and compliments from friends, their brain starts associating exercise with reward and pleasure. Because of that satisfaction, the behavior change, from laziness to regular exercise, sustains naturally. Let's understand the second principle, which you will use to enhance your productivity. The feeling of easy. Our brain always will choose least energy required tasks. Because energy is a precious and brain is wired to conserve it whenever possible. Have you ever promised yourself, from tomorrow I'll change my life, and then 3 days later, you're back to square one? That's because building habits is not about motivation, it's about strategy. And today, I'll share 3 simple steps that can literally rewire your brain to stick with any habit you want. Step 1. Start ridiculously small. Let's say your goal is to do 50 push-ups daily. With enough motivation, you'll crush it for 2 to 3 days. But soon, your brain feels exhausted, and you quit. Why? Because big steps need big energy, and your brain resists it. So instead, make the first step so small it feels silly. Do just 1 push-up on day 1. That's it. Your brain thinks, this is easy. Slowly, 1 turns into 5, then 10, and before you realize, 50 becomes natural. Small steps are not weakness, they are the foundation of consistency. Step 2. Focus on the process, not the outcome. Think about it, 22-inch biceps, a luxury car, $1 million, these are not goals. They are outcomes. The truth? To get that body, you must train for years. To become a millionaire, you must grind daily for years. So here's the secret, stop obsessing over the outcome. Instead, fall in love with the work itself. Because the results are just a byproduct of the process. Step 3. Remove secondary frictions. Every goal has 2 kinds of tasks. Primary task, the real work, like exercising in the gym. Secondary task, small frictions around it, packing your gym bag, filling your water bottle, finding your shoes. If you leave these frictions for the last moment, they'll steal your energy. So what's the solution? Prepare in advance. Pack your gym bag and shoes the night before. That way, when it's time to act, you just show up and focus on the real work. And that's it, 3 powerful steps. Start small, focus on the process, and remove frictions. Habits don't change your life overnight, but they change the direction of your life forever. So tell me, what's the one habit you're going to start with today? Third principle, evolutionary history. In this principle we are going to understand how to sustain constructive habits. Have you ever wondered why we humans fall so easily for temptations like junk food, flashy ads, or even endless scrolling on social media? Well, to understand this, let's go back to a fascinating experiment by Nobel Prize-winning scientist Nico Tinbergen. Tinbergen worked with herring gulls, a species of bird found in North America. Adult gulls have a small red dot on their beak, and whenever chicks are hungry, they instinctively peck at that dot to signal for food. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Tinbergen created fake cardboard beaks, just heads without bodies, and offered them to the chicks when their parents weren't around. You'd expect the chicks to ignore these fakes, right? But no. The moment they saw the red spot, they started pecking, just as if it were their real mother. Then Tinbergen pushed the experiment further. He discovered that the bigger the red spot, the more intensely the chicks pecked. Eventually, he built a beak with 3 giant red dots. The result? The baby birds went wild, pecking furiously as if it were the ultimate beak. This revealed something profound: the animal brain is wired with built-in rules. And when it encounters an exaggerated version of those rules, it gets overstimulated. Scientists call this phenomenon supernormal stimuli. But here's the twist, humans fall for the same trap. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors struggled to find enough food. Their survival depended on eating as much as they could whenever they found calorie-rich sources of salt, sugar, and fat. Back then, these foods were rare treasures. Fast forward to today, those same instincts are still in us. Only now, instead of rare survival food, we're surrounded by fast food, snacks, and desserts everywhere. Our brains, still chasing the ultimate beak, light up when faced with these supernormal versions of food, pizzas, burgers, sodas, far more exaggerated than what nature ever offered. That's the power of supernormal stimuli, whether it's birds going crazy over red dots, or us reaching for that extra slice of cake. Second thing lies in evolutionary history of human race is reward chemicals. Let's talk about the dopamine-driven feedback loop, the invisible force behind our cravings and habits. Back in 1954, two neuroscientists, James Olds and Peter Milner, ran an experiment that completely changed how we understand desire. They implanted electrodes into the brains of rats and blocked the release of dopamine, the brain chemical tied to motivation. The result was shocking. The rats lost all will to live. They didn't eat. They didn't drink. They didn't even attempt to mate. Within just a few days, they died of thirst, not because they couldn't feel pleasure, but because they had lost all motivation to seek it. Later experiments revealed something fascinating. Scientists gave dopamine-blocked rats tiny drops of sugar directly in their mouths. The rats still showed signs of enjoyment, their little faces lit up with delight at the sweet taste. But here's the catch, even though they liked the sugar, they no longer wanted it. This revealed a powerful truth: dopamine is not about pleasure, it's about desire. It fuels our cravings, pushes us to act, and creates the motivation to chase rewards. Without dopamine, there's no drive, no action, only stagnation. And here's where it gets personal. This same feedback loop is at work in us, every single day. Ever found yourself scrolling endlessly on social media, refreshing for just one more notification? Or reaching for that extra cookie even when you're not hungry? That's dopamine at play, tricking your brain into chasing, not just enjoying. The question is, are you controlling your dopamine, or is dopamine controlling you? How to use this for positive habit formation. Here's the key: instead of fighting against supernormal stimuli, hack it in your favor. Make good habits artificially rewarding. Listen to exciting music while working out. Track progress with streaks, apps, or visible charts. Gamify it. Reward yourself with something small after completing a habit. Make bad habits less stimulating. Remove cues, no junk food at home, turn off notifications. Add friction, log out of social media, keep phone in another room. Replace supernormal triggers with normal, but healthier ones: sparkling water instead of soda, podcasts instead of mindless scrolling. Leverage dopamine correctly, attach positive feelings to small steps, celebrate doing even one push-up. Over time, your brain rewires to crave the healthier loop. In short, supernormal stimuli are why bad habits form fast and strong. Good habits feel boring because they don't spike dopamine as much. The secret is to reduce exposure to supernormal triggers while making natural, good habits artificially rewarding. That's how you shift momentum. Fourth principle, the real hero, our environment. Motivation isn't enough to change habits. What truly changes us is the environment around us. Dr. Ann Thorndike, a physician in the US, once ran a fascinating experiment in a hospital cafeteria. She didn't lecture anyone about healthy eating. She didn't ban junk food either. Instead, she quietly changed the environment. Alongside soda machines, she simply added bottled water near the food stations, making it just as easy to grab as a soft drink. That's it. No rules, no restrictions, just a subtle shift in choice. The results? Soda sales dropped by 11%, while water sales shot up by 25%. Nothing about people's motivation changed, the only thing that changed was their environment. And that's the hidden truth: people often choose not because of what something is, but because of where it is. Environment acts like an invisible hand shaping our behavior. Think about it, stores use the same psychology. Products placed at eye level sell more. End-of-aisle racks. They're money-making machines. In fact, nearly half of Coca-Cola's sales come just from those spots. Why does this work so well? Because vision dominates our behavior. Out of 11 million sensory receptors in our body, 10 million are for sight. Our brain is wired to respond to what we see, even more than what we think. That's why the habits we form are not just about willpower, they're about context. Change what you see around you, and you'll change what you do. So, the key lesson is this: design your surroundings for success. Back in the 1970s, during the energy crisis, Dutch researchers ran an experiment. They installed electric meters in the upstairs rooms of some houses, right where people could actually see them every day. The result? Those households reduced their energy consumption by 30%. Why? Because visibility changes behavior. When people saw the numbers, they acted differently. And this applies to your life too. If you want to remember to take your medication, put the pill bottle right next to the bathroom faucet. If you want to practice guitar more often, place it in the middle of your living room, not hidden in the corner. If you want to send more thank you notes, keep a stack of stationery right on your desk. If you want to drink more water, pre-fill a few bottles each morning and place them where you'll notice them throughout the day. The truth is simple: what's visible becomes doable. Change your environment, and your habits will follow. Fifth principle, the core. Most people start new habits with a lot of energy. For a few days, they exercise, meditate, journal, or cook at home. But soon, those same habits start feeling like a burden, and motivation runs out. Ironically, the opposite happens with bad habits. Eating junk food, binge-watching TV, procrastinating, smoking, once they stick, they feel nearly impossible to break. Why is that? Because we often try to change the wrong thing. Think of behavior change like 3 layers of a circle. The outermost layer is outcomes, focusing on results. Losing weight, publishing a book, winning a championship. Most goals you set live here. The second layer is process, changing habits and systems. Starting a new workout routine, organizing your desk, practicing meditation. This is where most habits are built. But the deepest layer, the one that truly matters, is identity, your beliefs, your self-image, how you see yourself. Real transformation starts here. Let's make it clear with an example. Imagine 2 people offered a cigarette. The first says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." Sounds fine, but notice, this person still believes they are a smoker, just one trying not to smoke. They want behavior change, but their identity hasn't shifted. Now the second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." See the difference? Smoking is no longer part of who they are. That single statement signals identity change. This is the secret: true behavior change is identity change. Motivation might get you started, but only identity keeps you going. It's one thing to say, "I want to run a marathon." It's something very different to say, "I am a runner." It's one thing to say, "I want to read a book." But if you start seeing yourself as a reader, the habit sticks. The same goes for music, writing, fitness, anything. Real, lasting change doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from who you believe you are. So, at the end of the day, building habits isn't about willpower alone, it's about understanding the principles that drive human behavior. We've talked about 5 powerful ones. First, the principle of satisfaction, how rewarding habits stick. Second, the feeling of easy, why simplicity beats complexity. Third, our evolutionary history, how ancient instincts still guide modern choices. Fourth, the environment, the invisible hand shaping what we do. And the 5th, core of identity, the deepest layer of real behavior change. Now I want to hear from you. Out of these 5 principles, which one hit you the most? Which one will you actually apply in your life starting today? Drop your answer in the comments, I'll be reading each one. And remember, habits aren't just what you do, they're who you become.